All right, let's go over our lesson 5 practice problems over special right triangles. And there's a lot of them. There's 29 problems total, so we're going to go quickly through some of these. And I did circle, if you'll see these ones I circled in blue and put at the bottom, built-in bonus problems because you have to rationalize the denominators on these. So those 3 on the front, and then these 3 on the other page here. Those are the ones, I think I got all of those where you have to rationalize denominators, meaning like do that special thing where you get a square root out of the bottom, okay? Okay, let's jump in here. So the whole first section, 1 through 6, is strictly 45, 45, 90. Let's zoom into number 1. All right, so, and if you've already done these with me in the lesson, then go ahead and skip forward. Otherwise, let's go through this first section here. So if we have this side, if we know this is 8, then this other side, A, is also going to be 8, because those are always going to match each other on a 45, 45, 90. And then we know the hypotenuse B is going to be that side times the square root of 2. So just 8 square root 2. That's it. Okay, number 2, if we have our leg given to us, then we also know the other leg. It's going to be the same thing. So C is just 5 square root 2. And then to find the hypotenuse, we take our 5 square root 2 and we multiply it by the square root of 2. Now this one does involve doing a little of actual math because you can actually multiply those together on this one. So let's do that. And so when you multiply these together, the 5 would be kind of just chilling on the outside, but the 2's you could multiply together since they're both inside the square root. So this would be 5 square root 4, which you could further simplify because the square root of 4 just equals 2. So this is just 5 times 2, which equals 10. So all that just simplifies down to 10, and that would be our hypotenuse. So half the battle with these is just knowing how to work with radicals. It takes a lot of practice. Okay, we have another leg, which means we know this leg is the same thing. So 8 square root 3. And then we know we need to take it and multiply by square root 2 to get our hypotenuse. So I'm going to pull this out to the side and go times square root 2, which we can multiply together. This would give us 8 square root of 3 times 2, which is 6. And that's not a perfect square, so you can't simplify it any further. So this just stays as 8 square root 6. Okay, number 4, looks like we'll have to do some rationalizing on this one. So they don't give you either leg, they give you the hypotenuse. So we know that we have to kind of work backwards to find the legs. And think in reverse, right? If we had been given the leg, we know we always multiply it by the square root of 2 to get this thing. So what's the opposite of multiplying by square root 2? Well, we would divide by square root 2. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take that 12, pull it off to the side, and divide it by the square root of 2. Okay? Now you can't do like 12 divided by 2 and get 6 because one is in a square root and one is not. So this is technically your answer, but it's not simplified because there is a square root in the bottom of your fraction, and that's just not mathematically legal. So we know the way we do that, and if you don't remember, go check out, I believe it's lesson 2 over radicals. It's the very end where I talk about how to do this. But we're going to multiply by root 2 over root 2 to get rid of it. Multiplying straight across here, 12 times root 2 is just 12 root 2. Over, and then square root 2 times square root 2 would be the square root of 4. But the square root of 4 simplifies to just the number 2. Okay, and we could actually simplify this one a little bit further. Be careful, you can't do anything with the 2's because one is in a square root and one is not, so don't mess with those. But check out your regular numbers. You have 12 divided by 2, which can simplify to just 6. So if it can be simplified, you need to. So this would become 6 square root 2. And we know that would be the answer for both G and H because those legs are always going to match each other. Okay, good. On to number 5. All right, this is another one where they give you the hypotenuse, so we got to work backwards. So we always do that by taking whatever this is, writing it out to the side, and dividing it by the square root of 2. Now this one's a bit easier because these are just going to cancel out right here, and you're just left with 15. So you don't have to do a weird rationalizing of the denominator kind of thing. And that's going to be our answer for both sides. Just 15. Okay, number 6, same kind of thing, right? They give you the hypotenuse, so we pull it out to the side, 28 square root 6, and we work backwards by dividing by the square root of 2. And if you're real good with working with radicals, you'll realize, oh, these are both under square roots and I can divide those numbers. So you can do 6 divided by 2 and kind of like push those together. And this is going to become 28 square root of 3. And that's it for both those sides. Okay, so that covers the top section that's just over 45, 45, 90. Now we incorporate the 30, 60, 90. So this is a bunch of mixed practice that keeps the 45, 45, 90s in it. So number 7 right off the bat is another 45, 45, 90. And they give me the hypotenuse, so I got to work in reverse. So I know I need to take that number out to the side and divide it by the square root of 2. Now I'm going to have to rationalize here to get rid of the square root of 2. So I'm going to multiply by root 2 over root 2, which is going to give us 28 square root 2 over, that's going to give me just regular 2. And then I can simplify 28 divided by 2, so that's going to give me 14 square root 2. And that would be it for both of those. Okay, number 8, we got our first 30, 60, 90 triangle on the page here. Here's a 90, here's a 60, which means 30-degree angle has to be right here if you want to write that in. Now, this would be my short leg down here because it's opposite my 30-degree angle. And I always want to find this one first if they don't give it to me. Now, they do give you the hypotenuse. And if you remember, hypotenuse is always double my short leg. So my y has to equal 8. So we can find that pretty quickly. And now once you have your short leg, you just have to memorize the rest of your properties. To get from your short leg to your long leg, you multiply by the square root of 3. So x is just going to be 8 square root 3. That's it. Okay, we got another 45, 45, 90. This is an easy one. They give you the leg. So x is going to equal the same thing because those are the two that match each other. So that's 4. And then it's pretty straightforward. Our hypotenuse would just be 4 times the square root of 2. That's it. Don't have to work in reverse on that one. Okay, 30, 60, 90 here and number 10. My 60-degree angle would be right here. If you want to write it in, you don't have to. Now, here's my 30-degree, which means they give me my short leg because it's the one opposite the smallest angle. These are the easiest ones because if you have your short leg, you can find both other sides. So my hypotenuse is going to be double the 11, so 11 times 2, which would be 22. And then my x is just my short leg times the square root of 3. So 11 square root 3. That's it. Okay, and number 11, let's see. They don't give me my short leg, sadly. They don't give me my hypotenuse. They give me the long leg. Okay, the ones where they give you the long leg, those are the, I guess, quote unquote hardest ones. And this one's not too bad actually, but you do have to think in reverse. So think the norm is if we're given the short leg, we always multiply by square root of 3 to find this long leg. So work backwards. Take this and divide it by the square root of 3 to get the short leg. Always find your short leg first. So I'm going to take 15 square root 3 and divide it by the square root of 3. But lucky for us, those cancel out and we just get 15. So x is going to equal 15. And then it's pretty easy from there. You just double it always to get your hypotenuse. So y is going to equal 30. Good. Okay. Number 12, we got a 45, 45, 90, and they give us the hypotenuse, so we know we work backwards. So we take our 9 square root 2, and we divide by square root 2, and they cancel, and we just get 9. Pretty straightforward on that one. All right, on to 13. Okay, we got a 30, 60, 90. Here's my short leg. They don't give it to me. Here's my hypotenuse. They don't give that to me. They give you the long leg. So we're going to have to work in reverse to find our short leg. So we know to do that, we take whatever this is and we divide by square root 3. And we're going to have to rationalize here to get rid of that square root 3. So we multiply both the top and the bottom by square root 3. Multiplying straight across, that's going to give me 6 times root 3 is just 6 root 3. Now, root 3 times root 3, if you think about it, is the square root of 9. But then what is the square root of 9? It's just the number 3. Okay, and then there's one other thing you can do to simplify this. And you can do the 6 divided by 3. Divide the normal numbers, so that's going to give me 2 square root 3. So what we just found would be the short leg, so y is 2 square root 3. And then if I want to find my hypotenuse, we always take that short leg and we double it. So 2 square root 3, if I write that out to the side, 2 square root 3 times 2, that's going to just give you 4 square root 3. Really, you just multiply the 2's together. That's it for that one. Okay, we got a 45, 45, 90 here on number 14, and they give me the hypotenuse, so we're going to be working in reverse. So I take the square root of 10, and I divide it by the square root of 2. Now, on this one, this is just like getting really comfortable working with square roots, which you might not be yet, but this is how you get comfortable with it. When you have a square root divided by a square root, look at the numbers on the inside and see if you can actually divide those, which we can. This would just simplify down to the square root of 5, because 10 divided by 2 is 5. And then that's it. That would be fully simplified for those two sides. Good. Okay, last one on this page, 30, 60, 90. Let's see, they give us the hypotenuse. These ones are like the second easiest types of ones, because we know there's a really simple relationship between the hypotenuse and our short leg, which would be x in this problem because it's opposite the 30-degree angle, okay? Now we know we can just take this and cut it in half to get x. So 38 divided by 2, let's see, what is that? 38, half of 38 would be 19, so my x is 19. And then from there, we now have our short leg. We just multiply by root 3 to get y. So just 19 square root 3. Okay, takes care of that. Let's go on to the next page. You're doing great. I know there's a lot of them. Let's look at number 16 here. Wait, was that number 15? Yeah, I want to make sure it went in order. Okay. 45, 45, 90, a very straightforward one. If this leg is 13, so is this leg. So these are matching. And then y would just be 13 times the square root of 2. Okay, another 45, 45, 90, but they don't give us the legs, they give us the hypotenuse. So we know we're going to have to take that number, work backwards by dividing by the square root of 2. And we will have to rationalize here. So we know we multiply by root 2 over root 2, which is going to give me 30 root 2 over square root 2 times square root 2 is square root 4, which just simplifies to 2. And then we can simplify a little bit further. If you recognize 30 can be divided by 2, so we're just going to get 15 square root 2 for both of these legs. Good. Number 18, we got a 30, 60, 90. Here's my 30-degree angle. And this is an easy one because they do give me my short leg. So short leg is 3. So I know short leg to hypotenuse, I can just double it and get 6. And then short leg to long leg, I multiply it by the square root of 3. So y would just be 3 square root 3. That's it. Okay. Number 19, another 30, 60, 90. They give me the hypotenuse, so I want to work backwards to first find my short leg, which I know I can just take that 34 and cut it in half, right? Divide it by 2. So y is my short leg in this case. That's going to be 17. Make sure we put the 17 in the correct spot over here. That one's definitely the short leg. Okay, and now that we know the short leg is 17, I just multiply by square root 3. To get my long leg. So long leg is 17 square root 3. All right, number 20, 45, 45, 90. They give me the hypotenuse, so I work backwards here. So I'm going to pull that out to the side, and I divide by the square root of 2. And those just cancel and leave me with 10. Okay, 21, we have another 30, 60, 90. Now this one, they give me the long leg. So sadly, right, because these are always the most challenging ones. But this one's not too bad. We want to take that long leg, pull it out to the side. So 25 square root 3 and work backwards. So to go in reverse to get our short leg, we divide it by the square root of 3. But those square root 3's cancel out, and I'm just left with 25. So that is my short leg. So my y variable is 25. And now that I have that, I can double it always to get my hypotenuse. So x is going to equal 50. All right, 22. We got a 45, 45, 90. We've got the hypotenuse. Let's pull that out to the side. And to work backwards to find the leg, we divide it by the square root of 2. Now remember what you can do if you see 2 square roots and those numbers divide, definitely simplify that down. So 14 divided by 2 is 7. And make sure you leave that 7 inside the square root. So this would become 2 square root 7 for both sides. Okay, 23. Looks like we will have to rationalize potentially on this one. It is a 30, 60, 90. Let's locate our short leg here. They don't give it to us. They don't give us our hypotenuse. They do give us our long leg. So we start by working backwards from the long leg to the short leg. And we work backwards by dividing. So we take our 24, we divide by the square root of 3, and we're going to have to multiply by square root 3 over square root 3. Multiplying straight across is going to give me 24 square root 3 over square root 3 times square root 3. Think about that. That's the square root of 9, but the square root of 9 is just 3. Okay, and then we can simplify this part, 24 divided by 3, because that's going to give me 8. So this is all 8 square root 3. Okay, so that thing that we just found would be our short leg. Okay, so our y variable is 8 square root 3. 8 square root 3. And then once you have your short leg, you can multiply it by 2 always to get your hypotenuse. So if we think about that, 8 square root 3 times 2, you're really just multiplying the 8 and the 2 together and getting 16 square root 3. Okay, number 24. We've got a 30, 60, 90. Let's see. So if our 30-degree angle is here, that means this is our short leg, and they don't give it to us, but they do give us our hypotenuse. So this one's going to be relatively easy because we know we can just take this and cut it in half, divided by 2, to get our short leg. So think about that. You've got 22 square root 3, and we want to just divide it by 2. So really you can just do the 22 divided by 2 part, which is going to give you 11 square root 3. So that is going to be the length of our short leg, 11 square root 3. Okay, I guess this one is like slightly tricky. So now we have our short leg. Let me erase this part. Okay, our short leg is 11 square root 3. And the way we go from short leg to long leg is whatever this is, we multiply it by the square root of 3 to get y. And it's a little tricky because it already has a square root of 3 in it, and then we have to multiply by the square root of 3, so I can see how that would be a little bit challenging. But let's write 11 square root 3 and go times the square root of 3. And then let's do that math. So this would just become 11, and think square root 3 times square root 3 is the square root of 9, which is, you know what, I'll go ahead and write it. We won't do too much in one step. So 11 times the square root of 9. Let me bring this up here, actually. 11 times the square root of 9. And then the square root of 9 is just the number 3. So really we're doing 11 times 3 to give me 33. So your y is a nice whole number, 33. Okay, good. That takes us to 25. Getting close to the end, those last two are going to be tricky. Those are very multi-step. All right, number 25 is a 30, 60, 90. Let's see, if our 30-degree angle is here, then that means this is our short leg, which they give us, so that's good. So it is the square root of 6. Let's go ahead and find our hypotenuse. And we know we can do that by taking whatever this is and doubling it or multiplying it by 2. Careful with this. If you take the square root of 6 and you multiply it by 2, I shouldn't see 12s in here because one is under a square root and one is not. This is literally just equal to 2 square root 6. You just kind of write them next to each other. So square root 6 times 2 is 2 square root 6. And that would actually be my y variable, right? Because that's the hypotenuse here. Okay, now to go from the short leg to my long leg, whatever this is, we multiply it by the square root of 3. So I'm going to take the square root of 6 and multiply that by the square root of 3. And those numbers you can multiply because they're both under a square root, and this is going to be the square root of 18. And be really careful because if you can simplify a radical, you need to for your final answer. So this is your answer, but let's simplify that. We know we can simplify that by, we could do like 9 times 2, right? They're both still in square roots. The square root of 9 is 3, so we can cross that out and replace it with the number 3 and leave the square root of 2 on there. So that's going to be our long leg, our x variable, fully simplified. So 3 square root 2 for that one. Good. That was tricky. These are getting tough. Okay. 26, 45, 45, 90. They do give me one of the legs, so find the one that it matches, which is going to be the x. So x is also the square root of 10. And then to find our hypotenuse, we take this and we multiply it by the square root of 2. Okay, so square root of 10 times the square root of 2 is going to equal the square root of 20. And let's see, can we simplify that? I think we can. Let's break that down. We could do 4 times 5. Okay, so then this would equal, because the square root of 4 is just 2, so this would equal 2 square root 5. That would be our hypotenuse, 2 square root 5. Okay, good. 27. We've got a 30, 60, 90. They give us the long leg here. So we know these are a little challenging because we got to work in reverse. So whatever our long leg is, we know to go in reverse. We divide it by the square root of 3 so that we'll get our short leg. So let's do that. 4 square root 21 divided by the square root of 3. Now we can divide these because they're both underneath radicals. So 21 divided by 3, that's going to give me 7. So this is just 4 square root 7. And that's going to give you our short leg, our x variable. 4 square root 7. Okay, and then from the short leg to the hypotenuse, we multiply it by 2. So what is 4 square root 7 times 2? Well, you're really just multiplying those together and you're going to get 8 square root 7. That's it for that one. All right, we've made it to our bonus round, our multi-step ones here. So 28, let's look at it. They give you 2 triangles and they want you to use special right triangles to find all the variables x, y, and z. On problems like these, you want to just start on one triangle. Now, I'm not going to start on this one because I don't know any of the sides on it, so I'm going to shift my focus to this triangle here first because I at least know one of the sides, okay? Let's analyze this triangle. Let's see if there's a 30-degree angle here and a 90 here, then I am dealing with a 30, 60, 90. I'm going to write that in. And let's see what they give me. They do give me my short leg here because it's opposite my 30-degree angle. So short leg, let's actually label both of these sides here. So I know to go from short leg to my hypotenuse, I multiply it by 2. So 17 times 2 is going to give me 34. So I'm going to label this side because maybe that'll help me when I'm working on this triangle. And then to go from my short leg to my long leg, I take it and I multiply it by the square root of 3. So x is just going to be 17 square root 3. So we found one of our solutions, 17 square root 3. Now to find y and z, we're going to have to look to our other triangle. Okay, now we know a little bit about this because since we solved the other one. So looking at this triangle, it is a 45, 45, 90, and we know one of the legs is 34. So right away we can find Z because it's going to be the same thing, right? This is also going to be 34. Let me write that in here. Okay, so Z is 34. And then to find our hypotenuse, we know we just multiply 34 by the square root of 2. So Y is just equal to 34 square root 2. Not too terrible, just a little multi-step. All right, last problem here. Okay, let's see, where should we even start? Well, if I look at the little triangle, there's no sides labeled. I don't have any, so I'm going to definitely start with the bigger triangle over here. Let's take a look at it. Now, this is a 30, 60, 90. I'm going to label this as 30 degrees. And what do they give me? So if this is the 30 degree, this would be the short leg because it's opposite that one. And they don't give me that, and they don't give me the hypotenuse. They give me the long leg. Okay, so we know if we have the long leg, we have to work backwards to first find our short leg. And we do that by taking it and dividing it by the square root of 3. And then we rationalize, right? So we're going to multiply by square root 3 over square root 3. We get 27 square root 3 over, that would just give me 3. And then we can simplify a little bit because you can do 27 divided by 3. And that's going to give me 9 square root 3. Now keep in mind what we just found. We found the short leg. Okay, so I'm going to go label that. Let me erase that. So this short leg right here is 9 square root 3, which is not an x, y, or z variable, but I guarantee we'll need that to find some of our other variables over here and to find our x. So if we're still looking on this triangle, we just found our short leg, 9 square root 3, and to find our hypotenuse, we always know we just double it. We multiply it by 2. So if we take 9 square root 3 and we multiply that by 2, that's going to give me 18 square root 3. And that's my x variable, 18 square root 3. I can fill that in here. Okay, let's find the other two. Now we're going to shift our focus to the smaller triangle because now we know a little bit more about it. Now this one's a little weird. This is kind of tricky because they actually don't give you any of the angles. So you got to make sure you know what kind of triangle you're working with here. So let's see. This one obviously is going to be a 90-degree angle, just like the one next to it. So there's my 90. Now, if you're deciding, well, which one's your 30 and which one's your 60, think about this. They do make this a little tricky. If this whole angle is 90 degrees and they tell you this part of it is 60, then this one would have to be 30 degrees, right? Because 60 plus 30 equals that 90-degree angle. Okay, so be really careful with that. This one is the 30-degree angle, which by default makes this one the 60-degree angle. All right, so that means if that's my 30-degree angle right here, then the side opposite it is my short leg, which it looks like the short leg too, but sometimes they don't draw things to scale, so you have to like mathematically verify it. So Z is my short leg. That's what I need to find first, always. I have my long leg given to me. Now, to work backwards, I divide that by the square root of 3. Okay, so off to the side, I'm going to take that 9 square root 3 and divide it by the square root of 3. And this is nice because those will just cancel and just give me 9. So that is my short leg. My Z is 9. So I can fill that in over here. Z equals 9. And we're almost done. Last easy step to go from short leg to hypotenuse, we double it. So Y is going to be 18, just 9 times 2. And we did it. Hopefully you guys followed that. Those last two were tricky, but hopefully that went well for you guys. And I will see you in our next video. Good job, y'all.